Okay, so we are back in Julius Caesar, Act 1, Scene 2. Say hi to Kelton, twin sighting. Okay, so we actually stopped right in the middle of a scene between Brutus and Cassius because that video was so horribly long. So, oh dear. Anyway, so we are starting back on page 829, and I think this video is actually going to be shorter, even though we're not quite halfway through the actual length of the scene. So we're starting with Brutus's lines on page 829. We're at line about 162 is the line that we're starting with. Right there where Brutus says, "That you do love me, I am nothing jealous." Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit play.
That you do love me, I am nothing jealous. What you would work me to, I have some aim. How I have thought of this and of these times I shall recount hereafter. For this present I would not, so with love I might entreat you, be any further moved. What you have said I will consider. What you have to say I will with patience hear, and find a time both meet to hear and answer such high things. Till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself a son of Rome under these hard conditions as this time is like to lay upon us.
I am glad that my weak words have struck but thus much show of fire from Brutus.
The games are done, and Caesar is returning.
As they pass by, pluck Casca by the sleeve, and he will, after his sour fashion, tell you what hath preceded worthy note today.
I will do so. But look you, Cassius, the angry spot doth glow on Caesar's brow, and all the rest look like a chidden train. Calpurnius' cheek is pale, and Cicero looks with such ferret and such fiery eyes as we have seen him in the Capitol, being crossed in conference by some senators.
Casca will tell us what the matter is.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. So, goodbye, Kelton. Okay, so Brutus, he says, like, as Caesar and everybody's coming back out, and now that, you know, they were alone for all of this time, Brutus says, look at Caesar. I can see like the angry spot up on his brow. Do you know anybody who gets like really red, maybe if they're stressed or if they're angry or they're super excited? I know I kind of do sometimes where like just my face heats up. So something's going on. Like you can actually see on Caesar, he looks a little bit red-faced. And Calpurnia's cheek, she looks pale. So pale, sometimes like people are pale whenever maybe they're worried about something. Cicero looks with such like a ferret, so that's not very good, I don't think. Such fiery eyes as we have seen him in the Capitol being crossed in conference by some senators. So Cicero looks like he does when somebody's arguing with him. So they all look weird. They're coming back. Something's happened. That we know. You ever walk into a room or you see a group of people and they all look like something just happened? Well, that is exactly what's happening. So Cassius is like, that's okay. Casca's going to tell us what's up.
Antonius,
Caesar,
let me have men about me that are fat, sleek-headed men, and such as sleep o' nights. Yon Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous.
Fear him not, Caesar. He's not dangerous. He is a noble Roman and well-given.
Would he were fatter, but I fear him not. Yet if my name were liable to fear, I do not know the man I should avoid so soon as that spare Cassius. He reads much. He is a great observer, and he looks quite through the deeds of men. He loves no plays, as thou dost, Antony. He hears no music. Seldom he smiles, and smiles in such a sort as if he mocked himself and scorned his spirit that could be moved to smile at anything. Such men as he be never at heart's ease whilst they behold a greater than themselves, and therefore are they very dangerous. I rather tell thee what is to be feared than what I fear, for always I am Caesar. Come on my right hand, for this ear is deaf, and tell me truly what thou thinkst of him.
Okay, let's pause for a second. Okay, so first of all, so Caesar and Antony are having this really awesome conversation. And Caesar says, let me have men around me. They're all fat, sleek-headed men. and such as sleep at nights. Cassius over there, he's skinny. He looks lean and hungry. I don't trust him. Men like that are dangerous. So he thinks that men that are like fat and bald and they sleep well at night, those are the men you can trust. And if you're skinny, you have a head full of hair, and you don't sleep at night, maybe you aren't trustworthy. Uh-oh. He goes on, and Antony's like, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with Cassius. And Caesar says, I wish he was fatter. Sure do. Need some meat on those bones. Then he says, he reads a lot. Can't trust those people who read a lot. Caesar, it's hurtful. He's a great observer. He looks quite through the deeds of men. He loves no plays. This guy doesn't go to plays. He doesn't go to movies. He doesn't go to entertainment. All he does is keeps his nose in the books all the time, the serious things. That's all he cares about. You can't trust people like that, according to Caesar. He says he never smiles. He should smile more. He always looks like something's wrong. He always looks, like he's plotting things in his head. And he says, I don't know why he's so squirrely and so kind of, he seems like he's not trustworthy. Me, I walk around, I stomp around, but I'm always Caesar. Why isn't he just himself? And then he wants Antony, he's like, come here, Antony, tell me what you really think of him. So probably maybe Antony gives him some of his other ideas. But now our focus shifts back to Brutus and Cassius. They're getting the story from Casca. What happened with Caesar and Calpurnia and Antony and all them? What happened? Why'd they look weird when they came back in? We're about to find out.
You pulled me by the cloak. Would you speak with me?
Aye, Casca. Tell us what hath chanced today that Caesar looks so sad.
Why, you were with him, were you not?
I should not then ask Casca what had chanced.
Why, there was a crown offered him, and being offered him, he put it by with the back of his hand, thus, and then the people fell a-shouting.
What was the second noise for?
Why, for that, too.
They shouted thrice. What was the last cry for?
Why, for that, too.
Was the crown offered him thrice?
Aye, marry was't, and he put it by thrice, every time gentler than other, and at every putting by, mine honest neighbours shouted.
Who offered him the crown?
Why, Antony.
Tell us the manner of it, gentle Casca.
Okay, so the reason the crowd was shouting is because Antony offered Caesar the crown 3 times. Remember, Rome is a republic. Rome has a group of senators who are in charge of it. They're a group of men. It's not a monarchy. There's not one guy in charge. And Antony offered a crown to Caesar 3 times. And all the people are cheering. Yeah, yeah. Now they want to know the details. How did this all happen?
I can as well be hanged as tell the manner of it. It was mere foolery. I did not mark it. I saw Mark Antony offer him a crown, yet 'twas not a crown neither. It was one of these coronets. And as I told you, he put it by once. But for all that, to my thinking, he would fain have had it. Then he offered it to him again, then he put it by again. But to my thinking, he was very loath to lay his fingers off it. And then he offered it the 3rd time, he put it the 3rd time by, and still, as he refused it, the rabblement hooted and clapped their chopped hands and threw up their sweaty nightcaps and uttered such a deal of stinking breath because Caesar refused the crown that it had almost choked Caesar, for he swooned and fell down at it. And for mine own part, I durst not laugh for fear of opening my lips and receiving the bad air.
Okay. So Casca's describing this scene where Antony, oh my gosh, Antony We're gonna make do with what we have here. But Antony looks at Caesar and he's like, hey, can I put this on your head? And Caesar's like, no. You ever know those people who are like, no, don't compliment me. No, but they really want you to compliment them. That's kind of what's happening. Mark Antony is like, hey, you know, you need to be our king. And Caesar's like, no. I mean, that's adorable. Whew, that's a bit of a problem. Casca's like, yeah, right, sure. He of course wants to be king is what Casca thinks.
But soft, I pray you, what? Did Caesar swoon?
He fell down in the marketplace and foamed at mouth and was speechless.
'Tis very like. He hath the falling sickness.
No, Caesar hath it not. But you and I and honest Casca, we have the falling sickness.
Okay. So Caesar, right after he gets offered the crown by Mark Antony, he actually, it says he swooned. He passes out. He faints. He falls down. Not only does he fall down, he starts foaming at the mouth and he's speechless. Brutus is like, oh, it's probably, he has the falling sickness. This is how Elizabethan England people referred to epilepsy. And it is very possible that Caesar had epilepsy. And Cassius is like, no, he doesn't have that. But we're becoming helpless under Caesar's rule. We have the falling sickness, is what Cassius says.
I know not what you mean by that, but I am sure Caesar fell down. If the Tagrag people did not clap him and hiss him according as he pleased and displeased them, as they used to do the players in the theater, I am no true man.
What said he when he came unto himself?
Mary, before he fell down, when he perceived the common herd was glad he refused the crown, he plucked me ope his doublet and offered them his throat to cut. And I had been a man of any occupation, if I would not have taken him at a word, I might go to hell among the rogues. And so he fell. When he came to himself again, he said, if he had done or said anything amiss, he desired their worships to think it was his infirmity. 3 or 4 wenches where I stood cried, alas, good soul, and forgave him with all their hearts. But there's no heed to be taken of them. If Caesar had stabbed their mothers, they would have done no less.
Then after that...
So at the point that Mark Antony is offering the crown to Caesar, Caesar seems to think the crowd isn't excited enough about this. So he actually opens up his doublet and he's offering them his throat to cut. What? That's crazy. And then he passes out or faints or whatever it is that he does. And whenever he gets up, he's like, hey, if I did anything that was weird, that's just because of my sickness. Oops. Oopsie. So have you ever met anybody who kind of blames? Maybe you know those people who are like, maybe they get too angry. Maybe they let their emotions get out of control. And then they're like, oh, if I was offensive, it's just my, I mean, it's like in my genes. I just get angry. Oopsie, can't help it. We're in control of ourselves, right? So that's a bit of a weakness too, that he was feeling all suddenly slightly suicidal whenever he felt like the crowd didn't want him to be their ruler as much as he thought they should. That's weird. So that's questionable. Now Casca is also noting that these people, man, they would take anything from him. They forgive him for all. He can't do any wrong in their eyes. Now, not to make political statements, but think of people you know and how they feel politically. Do they sometimes support leaders with kind of that type of blind adoration where they can do no wrong? No matter what they say, it's right. And if you don't like it, you're wrong. And it can be on any side of it can be any political party. It can be any particular person who's in a role of leadership. But that idea of blind following, that's not perfect. We need to always be asking questions. We need to always be looking at people. They're human beings. And whenever they do things, we need to be analyzing. Was that a good thing? Was that a bad thing? So we can't just check our brains at the door because we trust a leader. That's, we need to question things for sure.
That he came thus sad away.
Aye.
Did Cicero say anything?
Aye. He spoke Greek.
To what effect?
Nay, and I tell you that, I'll ne'er look you with a face again. But those that understood him smiled at one another and shook their heads. But for mine own part, it was Greek to me.
It was
I
Greek
could
to
tell
me.
you more news too. Morellus and Flavius, for pulling scarves off Caesar's images, are put to silence. Fare you well. There was more foolery yet, if I could remember it.
Will you sup with me tonight, Casca?
No.
A couple things there. First of all, that's a very famous phrase. It was Greek to me. People still say that. So Casca, like literally, somebody was speaking Greek and he was like, I don't know what they said. It was Greek to me. That's a phrase that we get from Shakespeare. So there are a lot of phrases in here that as you hear them, you may be like, my mom says that or my grandma says that. They're just normal phrases that we have acquired from Shakespeare. So it's kind of cool. Then he tells us a little piece of information that maybe we didn't catch. Marcellus and Flavius, remember those two politicians from the beginning scene, the first scene, where they were removing the decorations from the statues? Marcellus and Flavius, for pulling scarves off Caesar's images, are put to silence. In my little side note here, it says, they have been silenced by being forbidden to take part in public affairs, exiled, or perhaps even executed. Now, we know that all Shakespearean tragedies have a death count by the end of the play. What I need you to know is we have just experienced the beginning of that. Marcellus and Flavius from scene 1, we will not be seeing them again. Nobody ever will. They're dead. Because they took the scarves off of Caesar's statues. Uh-oh.
No. I am promised forth.
Will you dine with me tomorrow?
Aye, if I be alive and your mind hold, and your dinner worth the eating.
Good. I will expect you.
Do so. Farewell both.
What a blunt fellow has this grown to be. He was quick metal when he went to school.
So is he now in execution of any bold or noble enterprise, however he puts on this tardy form. This rudeness is a sauce to his good wit, which gives men stomach to digest his words with better appetite.
And so it is. For this time, I will leave you. Tomorrow, if you please to speak with me, I will come home to you. Or, if you will, come home to me and I will wait for you.
I will do so. Till then, think of the world.
So this is Cassius by
Well,
himself.
Brutus, thou art noble. Yet I see thy honorable metal may be wrought from that it is disposed. Therefore it is meet that noble minds keep ever with their likes. For who so firm that cannot be seduced?
Yikes.
Caesar doth bear me hard, but he loves Brutus. If I were Brutus now, and he were Cassius, he should not humor me. I will this night in several hands in at his windows throw, as if they came from several citizens, writings, all tending to the great opinion that Rome holds of his name, wherein obscurely Caesar's ambition shall be glanced at. And after this, let Caesar seat him sure, for we will shake him, or worse days endure.
Okay, so Brutus leaves and, says he's going to be thinking about what Cassius has said. Cassius wants Brutus to join in his league of people that have it out for Caesar. And he wants him to join conspirators, to do something about this idea that Caesar is taking the political position and authority of maybe a king, a ruler. So now Cassius, now that Brutus is gone, his plan for this evening is, first of all, he says Brutus is pretty easy to seduce. And this isn't a romantic thing at all. He's manipulating him with his words. Cassius is a great manipulator. And Cassius has found a way to get Brutus to listen to him. Brutus is a very honorable man, but Brutus cares deeply for Rome. And so Cassius is using that love of country to get Brutus on his side. And then he goes further and he says, tonight, I'm going to write all these different notes to people, or from different people, and I'm going to throw them in at Brutus's windows. So he'll think the people of Rome are with him, that they hold him in high esteem. And the notes are also going to mention the fact that Caesar has a great deal of ambition. So that's his next move in this little like strategy chess game of politics. Okay, that is all of Act 1, Scene 2. Go ahead and answer those study questions. See ya.